championship. Larry Crawford starting out from the 10-yard line, and he is brought down at the 28 by Dan Rasevich. So that's where the British Columbia Lions will scrimmage first and 10, the most significant lineup change in this game, of course, as we mentioned, Tim Cowan starting at quarterback.
Well, Tim Cowan's getting the opportunity to start. Roy DeWalt's got the Lions in the tie for first place, but it's Tim Cowan today, and they're anxious to see what he can do. He's got excellent receivers to throw to, and that offensive line, Don, is as good as anybody's in the league, and they're big and strong.
I think we may see a little more running from the BC Lions this afternoon than we have in the past. That was the indication prior to the game when I talked with Tim Cowan. Well, he comes out with a swing pass to Tolo Umu to start the BC series, and he is taken out of bounds by Al Washington. Defensively, the Ottawa Rough Riders have made a lot of changes.
Marshall and Engelson are the only two in there on the defensive line from the beginning of the year, Don. Their linebackers, Garl from the Montreal Concord of last year, and they're middle linebacker. And their secondary, Johnson's over there at the rover position in the middle, and they've got Admiral Larry on one corner and McBride on the other corner. Those are two new changes.
Good pass protection for Cowan as he hits Pancratz, but he is stopped short of the first down by Admiral Larry. So Tim Cowan, getting the starting assignment for the first time during regular season play, completes first two passes, but does not pick up a first down. So the BC Lions are forced to kick it away. Dave Newman and Admiral Larry are back to receive this third down punt from John Pancratz. Lou Pasaglia, I should say. John Pancratz, the man who caught that most recent pass. Lou Pasaglia standing back at the 20-yard line. Newman fields it at the 25. And he goes out of bounds at the 34-yard line. So that's where the Ottawa Rough Riders will be scrimmaging first and 10 when we return to Lansdowne Park in Ottawa. A punt traveled 51 yards. Newman ran it back 9, and it's first and 10 Ottawa. They are at the 34-yard line.
Well, J.C. Watts has two great running backs in there now with him. He got McCray, and Skip Walker is back in there. Those receivers aren't bad either with Edwards and Baker on the outside. A lot of speed and a lot of stability on the inside. And the offensive line, Vanden Boss and Miles are both new, and we'll have to see whether they can hold up against that great defensive rush.
On first down, J.C. Watt throwing for Newman. Newman loses the football, and it is taken out of bounds by Pat Stokla. So a break for the Ottawa Rough Riders as they recover the ball after the fumble by Newman.
Just a bootleg to start the game, just down across the middle. Newman will find a hole, and he just stops. Gives J.C. a target. Watts hits him, and he loses the ball. They're fortunate Stokely finally gets his hands on it as it goes out of bounds. The ball comes loose when Larry Crawford hit it, but he just finds that hole in the defense, and that's all there is to it. Watts can find him.
First and 10 from the 51 of the BC Lions. There's the pitch to Skip Walker. Walker to the short side, and he's forced out of bounds at the 47-yard line. That will be a pickup of 4 by Keith Gooch.
Boy, this defense is tough, especially now Nick Hebler being back in there and missed most of the season. But with him and Parker's had an outstanding year. You can't say anything more. They lead the league in about 5 categories. Linebackers have stayed constant. Kevin Konar's having a good year. Keith Gooch in at the corner for Darnell Clash. He once jumped 5'11", or 6'11" as a high jumper.
I jumped 5'11" one time.
Newman has the pass, and there's a penalty flag in the play. He goes out of bounds down at the 14-yard line, but there is a penalty flag. I think it's going to be brought back. A holding call.
Now Watts takes the ball and just goes straight to his left over here, looks down the field, and he's finding that Newman wide open coming across the middle for the second time. Newman has again got the ball in his wrong arm there, on his inside arm, and he's going to get it knocked out again if he's not careful.
You know, Don, we may see a lot of these holding calls today with that young offensive line of the Ottawa Rough Riders trying to stop Mac Moore and Parker and Hebler in there. That's going to be a big test for them.
Ottawa keeps moving the way they're moving. Coach Matthews is going to wonder about this Ottawa ballpark because they've come in here 4 times in the last 4 years and lost 3 games.
The pass complete to Dwight Edwards. He'll be very close to a first down. Gooch made the tackle, but Edwards was close to the 41-yard line, and I think it may require a measurement.
Well, this is a planned play. He drops back, then he wants to roll to get outside. He has a lot of time this way. He finds Dwight Edwards, hits him right in the numbers. He had Keith Baker on the outside going deep, and he elected to go inside.
They must be finding that they're getting a big drop as we watch the official measure this thing. About 3 inches, I guess. But they must be finding that the linebacker's getting a big drop when they're rolling one way or the other because they're sending somebody across the flow from the offside and getting them wide open in the middle.
George Brancato sends in the short yardage unit.
You can bet that Watts will quarterback sneak this one.
Hudson, Sovieta, and Clark come into the ball game for Ottawa. 3rd and inches. JC has got it. You know, we were discussing prior to the ball game the tradition the Ottawa Rough Riders seem to have of having players with colorful names. J.C. Watts, Julius Caesar Watts. They had wonderful Mons II, Prince McJunkins III, and the most recent addition to the cast, Admiral Dewey Larry Jr.
That's not bad. If he gets beat, he's liable to be a seaman, though.
1st and 10 from the 39-yard line. Tim McCray, and he fights his way to the 36. I wouldn't be at all surprised that Skip Walker was able to return to the lineup a little earlier this year, but the job that Tim McCray was doing at that running back position just prevented Skip from getting back into the lineup.
I think you're going to find that there's a lot of competition between those two guys today, Don, trying to outdo each other because Skip has stood on the sidelines and watched McCray play so well. Incidentally, I talked with Perry Moss, the offensive coordinator from the Buffalo Bills, and he sent up McCray to George Brancato. And he was telling me that he wished he had him back right now.
Over the middle, Stokely's got a first down at the 23-yard line. J.C. Watts has looked sharp so far this afternoon. The Ottawa Rough Riders enjoying the benefits of a break in the schedule in preparing for this game, and they look sharp.
Now, Watts is, for the first time today, according to George Brancato, calling his own plays, and looks like he's coming out with a lot of diversification and doing an excellent job up to this point.
Stokely made a good move there. As soon as that linebacker blitzed, he looked for the football, and Watts found him. That's what you have to do against this PC Lions, because they're tough.
1st and 10 from the 23. There it is, incomplete, intended for McCray at the 20-yard line. He was being covered by the linebacker, Kevin Konar.
Now, they're using a lot of bootlegs and play-action passes and things like that, but the thing that stands out to me right now, initially in this ball game, is that young Ottawa line is doing such a good job of giving Watts the time to look downfield and throw the football. He hasn't had too much pressure on him yet, Ron.
Well, the thing that's the best about it is he's throwing the ball quick. He's not standing back there and holding it, and that'll help that line when he does that.
A little play-action fake and a little throwing quick really helps.
2nd and 10 from the 23. Dwight Edwards at the 1-yard line. Andre Jones prevented an Ottawa touchdown, but it will be 1st and goal for the Rough Riders.
We're going to see a play-action pass here again where he fakes the off-tackle fake on a reverse pivot, goes right back and finds Edwards coming in, running a post pattern, a shallow post pattern, almost takes it into the end zone.
1st and goal for Ottawa from the 1. Dwight Edwards, the number 2 receiver among Ottawa pass catchers. The leader coming into the game, Dave Newman. Short yardage offense. Tim McCray stopped at the goal line. There was almost a bit of a collision involving McCray and quarterback J.C. Watts.
I'm a little surprised, Ron, that as good a quarterback sneaker as Watts is from that 1-yard line with 3 downs to go, that he wouldn't have tried it on the first down and then tried it on the second down.
Well, this play takes a long time to develop. He comes all the way from one halfback position off tackle the other way. And you see Ty Cruz just waiting on him in the hole. You're exactly right. I think he should have just taken that thing. Get it in the end zone. Who cares who scores? It just saves the receiver.
Skip Walker, and he has stopped. The ball is fumbled. And it's recovered by BC.
Well, there's two times in a row right there when you're on the 1-yard line and you've got a guy as capable as Watts is on the quarterback sneak. Why, as Ron said, take the time to hand off in the backfield?
So the BC Lions will take over at their own 1-yard line. Certainly is a busy sports day on CBC television. Football this afternoon, all the horse racing upcoming, and the start of the National Hockey League season, Hockey Night in Canada, tonight on CBC television. The ball obviously fumbled into the end zone where it was recovered by Andre Jones because the BC Lions are scrimmaging 1st and 10 from the 25. Tim Cowan, penalty flag on the play. He fumbles the ball. Who's got it? Ottawa has recovered.
That would be a big break for Ottawa, especially if it's a holding penalty.
Raymond Harrison came up with the football. There was a holding call against the BC Lions. It will be declined, quite naturally, as Lauren Wood illustrates to us.
Well, what you have is, this is a read pattern for the quarterback. He's got Pankratz coming into the middle and Talumu going into the flat, and he's got to get rid of that ball quick, and he doesn't, and he gets hit by Sovieta from the backside. That ball has to be delivered real quick because you don't have all the blockers in the world. It's a read pattern for a quarterback, which means he's got about a second and a half to get rid of it.
So the Ottawa Rough Riders get another chance. 1st and 10 from the 12-yard line. It is still scoreless here in the first quarter. End zone, touchdown, David Newman.
That was a duplication of that bootleg pass that they threw earlier in the ball game to Newman. He just comes across from the offside. You'll see the running fake here. Watts goes back to his left, and Newman comes across from the right, gets wide open for the touchdown.
There were some who were saying before the game that Ottawa offensive line might be suspect. So far, they've done a good job.
Leo hit it on the head when he's talking about the play action fakes and throwing quick. Boy, that really helps that offensive line. And when they go down the field and they missed the touchdown before, but they come back and get another chance at it and get it, that'll do more for their confidence than anything. And that young line, if the pressure is on them to keep him off JC, but as long as he keeps rolling a little bit, he's going to buy time, and that's going to help him.
Number 19, Dave Newman, with his 10th touchdown of the year, and the Ottawa Rough Riders, with the point after by Dean Dorsey, have moved into a 7-0 lead.
Well, Ottawa needed that score. They went down there and they took their two best running backs, McCray and Walker, and tried to get them in the end zone. Neither one of them could score. Walker fumbled, but they got the ball right back and they got that score, and they needed that badly. Now, with the problems that they've had, they need a big break, and that was it. The BC team now is going to have to realize that they don't have an easy job out here this afternoon. Get moving.
You see on the sidelines the newest addition to the Ottawa Rough Riders, David Marler, the quarterback, talking with George Brancato. Marler, of course, began his CFL career with Hamilton. Then there was the controversial trade to the Montreal Concorde and the question of who was going to pay his salary, because he did have the wrist injury, and now he's with the Ottawa Rough Riders as the backup to J.C. Watts. Larry Crawford on the kickoff return, finding some room down the sidelines, and then he is bounced out of bounds by Kurt Garrow, and the BC Lions will scrimmage 1st and 10 at their own 31-yard line. A year ago, Larry Crawford was chosen the Rothmans overall winner of the award as the outstanding player in the CFL, the outstanding defensive player.
Well, he's been a great football player.
1st and 10 from the 31-yard line. John Henry White gets to the 37. That'll be a pickup of 6. He's stopped by Al Washington.
It's kind of a coincidence to have two Crawfords in the league, one the East, one the West, and one does everything on offense and the other guy does everything on defense. Referring to Rufus Crawford over with the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
I think Rufus Crawford may have taken some exception to the comment that he was an overpaid bum from Ticat owner Harold Ballard, because he has certainly made a contribution to the Ticats this year. That was almost picked off. Ken Miller knocked it down. It was intended for John Pankratz, and again, the BC Lions will be forced into a punting situation.
Well, Cowan is Ryan. Cowan is going to go through kind of a process of being nervous, I think, early in this ball game. He's got to get settled down.
Yeah, that's the same pattern he tried to throw a while ago when he fumbled. As soon as Pankratz clears that linebacker, that ball's got to come. He threw it so quick that time that not only Pankratz wasn't ready for it, the defensive back got hit right in the face with it almost, and he wasn't ready.
Billy, watch your face.
At least he got rid of it in a hurry like he should.
Newman and Admiral Larry are back for the third down punt by Lou Pasaglia. An end-over-end kick taken by Admiral Larry. He is stopped at the 40-yard line. A kick of 38 yards by Lou Pasaglia. And with 6:04 remaining in this first quarter, Ottawa will scrimmage 1st and 10 from the 40 when we return. Yes, lots of hockey action coming your way on CBC television, beginning with tonight's initial games on Hockey Night in Canada. And this is Skip Walker to the line of scrimmage. He is stopped at the 40-yard line. And by the way, we should also point out that the Space Shuttle Challenger is safely back on Earth. And with Canadian astronaut Marc Garneau aboard, the astronauts tonight will be holding a press conference that will be seen on CBC television beginning at 7:30 Eastern Time. So check your local listings for the telecast time in your area. 2nd and 10 from the 40-yard line. J.C. Watts to the sidelines. First down to David Newman.
Well, that was a well-executed pattern out there. Dwight Edwards went down about 12 yards, came to the inside. Newman went down like he was going to run a hook, turned and then slid back out underneath him toward the sidelines, got himself wide open, and Watts hit him.
Well, there's a couple things that you got to take into consideration with the way Watts is playing today. Either he's completely recovered from any injury that he's ever had, or he's hotter than he's been all year because he's thrown that ball like it's got eyes this afternoon.
He's completed 6 of 7 for 105 yards. He's got another completion to Skip Walker. And that will be close to another first down. He falls way to the 47-yard line. Well, Leo, at the start of the telecast, you said to George Brancato, what miracles have you got for us this year? Perhaps Brancato's going to do it again.
Well, they're using this play-action fake with the off-tackle fake to the running back and then coming off the fake, and as Ron said before, throwing quickly, and it's really effective this afternoon, and it's really helping the offensive line, too.
Brancato noted for putting together his team late in the year. He gives to Tim McCray, and McCray is inside the 45-yard line.
Well, Ron, over the years, I think we both have had the experience with the Ottawa Rough Riders that if they get ahead of you early in the ball game and get some points on the board, look out. You could be in for a long afternoon.
That's exactly the way they are. And over the years, the Lions have had trouble playing here at Lansdowne Park. But Ottawa Rough Riders, once they get up on you, for some reason, they get up ahead of steam, and they steamroll you a lot of times.
Sure do.
Dwight Edwards wide left. Keith Baker comes out to the right. Watt getting good protection now, running out of there, and he is caught from behind at the 38-yard line by Nick Hebler.
You know, it's not very good news. As you see JC there, when he got up, he started limping. He tries the play-action fake to his left, and it's covered, and the penetration's in there on him, but it's good to see Nick Hebler back in there pursuing and making that tackle. He'll really help that BC team.
Now Dean Dorsey will be attempting a 46-yard field goal. Ottawa leading by a score of 7-0. The kick is good. And with 3:36 remaining in this opening quarter, the Rough Riders have moved into a 10-0 lead.
Boy, that very well could have been a 55-yard field goal. He had plenty of legs on that one.
BC coach Don Matthews not particularly pleased with the way this game has started for his British Columbia Lions. Of course, it was a big blow last week when they lost Roy to Walt in that 21-21 tie with the Toronto Argonauts. We were in Winnipeg last week as Tom Clements destroyed the Calgary Stampeders in the first half. The first 5 possessions, they scored touchdowns. Aaron Brown had a whale of a game. And the day prior to that, we were at Ivor Wynne Stadium in Hamilton as James Hunter had a big afternoon in helping the Edmonton Eskimos defeat the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and those three were selected as the Rothman Stars of the Week. Ricky Barden, one of the key defensive backs for the Ottawa Rough Riders, taking a breather now as Dean Dorsey prepares to kick off. Crawford and Tolo Umo are back to receive this Dean Dorsey kick. It's 10-0, Ottawa in front. This ball bounces away from Tolo Umo into the end zone. He would be wise to concede the single point, and he does. Well, it looks like it might be one of those afternoons for the BC Lions.
They really don't look like they're alert at this point, and it's very difficult coming west to east. As far as the football team is concerned, their traveling habits, their eating and sleeping habits, but they're going to have to know that that's part of the schedule, and they got to play some football. And this is as big a game for them, really, for first place as it is for Ottawa for the playoffs.
Going for the bundle intended for Mervyn Fernandez, incomplete. Billy McBride, a former teammate with the BC Lions, was defending on the play. There's also a penalty flag on the play at the line of scrimmage, holding the call against Ottawa.
Where that flag was thrown down, it almost has to be one of the outside guys, a defensive back or somebody grabbing a receiver.
I think it might have been Ken Miller.
Holding. Ottawa number 7. First down.
I talked to Donnie Matthews before the game. Everybody is playing that jamming on the outside. And look here what Fernandez is yelling about. He thinks there may be face guarding here. The back was turned, and it wasn't called.
Ned Armour on the sidelines, and he is out of bounds at the 48.
Well, that's a big play for the BC Lions. They have this in their offense now where Cowan likes to throw on the run. So you call this a dash or whatever you want to call it. He drops back. Then he wants to roll out of there because he's comfortable throwing on the run. The ball's high. It's just a great catch by Armour. He went up and got it.
Well, this is what Cowan needs, a little bit of success and get his feet on the ground. He's got a good football team around him, and 13 points, 10 points don't mean anything as far as that BC team is concerned. They can get it back in a hurry.
11-0 is the score as David Tolo Umu breaks a couple of tackles. He broke about 4 of them, and he got the 12 yards all on his own.
We were talking to Coach Matthews before the game. We see a little shoving down there. But you'll see Tolo Umu now take the ball, and we talked to Donnie Matthews, the coach, before the game. Watch White go in there, make a good head-on block right there, and Tolo Umu just fights and scrapes, turns away from Miller and Barton, and just stays on his feet. But we talked to Donnie, and we said, you know, a lot of times this guy is so intent to get downfield, he forgets the ball. And he said, yeah, we really got to spend some time with him and make him concentrate on holding on to that football because he is such an aggressive runner.
1st and 10 from the 35. Cowan throwing deep. There's nobody there. There was a mix-up between the quarterback and the wide receiver, Mervyn Fernandez. Fernandez had broken the pattern off at the 20-yard line, and Cowan was putting it into the end zone.
Well, anytime you see both those slot backs, in this case Pankratz and Robinson, stay in the block and it's a two-man pattern, they want to get the bundle. Fernandez was going to go deep. He turned it up on Larry, and then maybe he did it because of the injury that we see him sitting on the field. Maybe he turned his ankle or something, but we'll find out. But he definitely broke the pattern off on the quarterback.
He's grabbing his ankle, which is a lot better than a hamstring, because I think an ankle will be, unless it could be an Achilles tendon. If it was an Achilles tendon, it'd be just absolutely tragedy at this time of the year. As you see him go downfield here, make his turn to the inside. Doesn't look yet like, oh, there he goes right there. Something happened right there at that moment.
When he planted and tried to cut in on that left foot, it appeared as though it may have rolled a little on him. Well, next week in the Canadian Football League, the Ottawa Rough Riders battle Hamilton in a game that could ultimately decide 3rd place. BC is in Calgary. Then on Sunday, Toronto's in Montreal, and Edmonton is at Winnipeg in a game that will be seen on CBC television. We invite you to join us for that one. Cowan is dragged down by Rick Sovieta for a loss back at the 39-yard line. This is an inspired Ottawa football team this afternoon. They are playing with some enthusiasm and intensity.
They came with an inside blitz that time by a safety blitz. Everybody was committed to the rush. And so Cowan tried to get to the outside. He hesitated for a moment, and Rick Sovieta showed some speed I didn't think he had right there. Almost got the ball.
Well, Sovieta started his CFL career with the Toronto Argonauts. He was a draft choice back in 1977. Lou Pasaglia with a 46-yard field goal attempt. It's wide. Ricky Barden is going to concede the single point. He'll use up some time. Let the BC players converge on him before he steps through the end zone with 1:01 remaining in this opening quarter. And it's now Ottawa 11 and the BC Lions 1. George Brancato has been taking some heat from some members of the Ottawa media over the past few games, and there have been suggestions that regardless of what happens this year, there may be changes in the coaching staff of the Ottawa Rough Riders.
Boy, that's a real show of emotion when George makes the fist and says, "Let's go, boys." But he doesn't do much on the sidelines other than just stand there and concentrate.
And with that missed field goal, the Ottawa Rough Riders take over at the point of last possession, and that is the 39-yard line. Skip Walker cuts back inside and has a gain of 9. Walker has been out of the Ottawa lineup for some time, but upon returning, I'm sure he's looking for number 67 to lead the blocking. But Rudy Phillips isn't there. He's out with injury.
He's a good one. Rudy Phillips has done an outstanding job over the years. And with McCray and Walker in the backfield, they want to run the football. And I'll tell you what the coaches were saying after this play, Don, what they were saying this morning.
Second and just over a yard. They give inside with Tim McCray. He's got the first down. He's out to the 51-yard line. 4 seconds remaining in this opening quarter. 11-1. Ottawa leads.
After the Saskatchewan Rough Riders give Ottawa a pretty good thumping out at Taylor Field, George Brancato said they were going to go back to 18th century football. And he said the last 2 weeks of practice, he said they've had about 4 fights. He said they have decided to go back and get nasty. And he said the practices, they've been fighting. He said, we think they're ready to play football today.
Well, they look like they're really ready to play.
The last play of the opening quarter, Skip Walker picks up about 3 yards before he's upset by Andre Jones. So after 15 minutes of play, the Ottawa Rough Riders lead the British Columbia Lions 11-1. That first quarter was all Ottawa. J.C. Watts has looked particularly sharp, passing the football for 116 yards, total offense of 149, as compared to just 38 for the BC Lions. The screen pass to Tim McCray, and McCray is decked from behind after a pickup of about 4 yards by Nick Hebler. So the Rough Riders are stopped short of a first down. It will be 3rd and 3.
I think Ottawa had their success in that first quarter because of what Leo was talking about, their little play-action passes. He's throwing the ball quick. He's not standing back there forever trying to throw that ball deep downfield. We saw he completed 7 out of his 8 passes. He's got 116 yards. They are controlling the game right now, and that's what they want.
Larry Crawford and David Tuluumu are back with a 3rd down punt by Ken Clark. He stands at his own 43-yard line. Taken by Crawford. He has a little difficulty holding it at the 10-yard line. And he is down at the 16. A pickup of 6 after a 42-yard punt by Ken Clark. The BC Lions will scrimmage 1st and 10 from their 16 when we return. Well, the BC Lions find themselves in an even bigger hole to start this first series in the second quarter. A holding call on that punt return has moved them back to their own 4.5-yard line. 1st and 10 from that point. Robinson was the man in motion across the formation. John Henry White, the ball carrier, he picks up 3 yards before being stopped by Ron Engelson.
There's no question in my mind right now that the man that has to do it is Cowan at quarterback. It looks to me like the BC team now has settled down a little bit defensively. Their offense looks like they've got a little bit of poise now, but Cowan is going to have to do it And on the Ottawa side of the line, they know that Collins are really a rookie in there from the time that he's had to play, and they may come at him with a big blitz down there and force him into an error.
2nd and 7. Cowan throwing deep for Armour. He's got it, but he can't stay in bounds. He got in behind Billy McBride up to the 54-yard line. What a big 2nd down play for the BC Lions.
Nothing fancy. All Armour does is go down and give McBride a fake to the inside and then just swung outside. And Collins, as you'll see, throws the ball just about as well as you can, hangs it out on that sideline. Perfect action. You see he's got about 3 steps on him, just couldn't stay in bounds, or he probably goes the distance.
I think that play right there turned the corner for the BC Lions. I think they're going to be tough from here on in.
Lions are 1st and 10 from the 54-yard line. The pitch to David Todoumu, and he has a gain of about 4 yards. Billy McBride came in to make the tackle. Tomorrow afternoon, we'll be at CNE Stadium in Toronto as the Argonauts take on the Calgary Stampeders. The Stamps eliminated from playoff contention in the West. The Argos trying to wrap up 1st place in the Eastern Conference. Complete to Mervyn Fernandez, and Fernandez is down to the 30-yard line before being stopped by Ken Miller.
Tough slant right into the middle right there, and Cowan waited until he passed beyond the linebackers. Go ahead, Ron.
Well, all he does is take the slot back and turn him out, and Fernandez comes on a real quick post pattern, and watch him hit him right in the seam. That's about all you can do with it.
First and 10, going deep for Fernandez. Touchdown! Mervyn Fernandez injured earlier in the ball game, late in the 1st quarter, having a bit of a problem with his ankle, coming back as the BC Lions put together quite a drive from their own 4.5-yard line, capped by this touchdown throw to Fernandez.
Well, that was a beautiful throw to Fernandez, and he goes up only like Mervyn can do and come down with the ball. And Washington got in a little confrontation. The linebacker for Ottawa, it's the first time I've ever seen a fight start, the referees step in, and then Washington get another blow in there without getting thrown out of the ball game. He's just lucky.
Fernandez did the same thing on the other side. He gave the cornerback Larry a step to the inside. He took it, and then he just went right behind him, and Cowan only sent 2 receivers out, so he had a lot of time.
Point after by Lou Pasaglia, and now it's an 11-8 ball game. The Ottawa Rough Riders in front, and we'll be back at the BC kickoff after this. And that's going to be quite a week in Edmonton. Grey Cup week 1984, the first time that the Canadian Football League Championship has ever been held in Edmonton, and the organizing committee has certainly done quite a job in preparing for it. Dwight Edwards runs into a tackle at the 30-yard line. He was hit there by Mel Bird. Mervyn Fernandez with his 10th touchdown of the season, and what a catch he made in the end zone.
Well, you see, he has the time. Finally, some heat comes from the inside. But he starts in, Cowan throws it behind him, and Fernandez, with his ability, just goes right in behind him and makes the catch. 2 excellent throws to Armour and Fernandez, and Leo said he may have turned the corner. He may have.
Leo made the comment when they were in a 2nd down situation back in the 4.5-yard line. This pass almost picked off by Andre Jones. It was intended for Pat Stopa.
One thing for Ottawa that they better remember, they're playing an excellent football team. The thing that they have to do is keep on doing what they did this 1st quarter, throw quick passes, be aggressive on defense, but don't lose their poise. And, you know, if they start losing their poise and start fighting like some Ottawa teams have done in the past, this BC team was liable to score about 100 on them.
Well, in obvious passing situations, the BC Lions go with that 6th defensive back as Glenn Jackson goes to the bench. J.C. Watts decided to run it, and he is stopped at the 35-yard line by Larry Crawford. The man coming from the backside there was James Parker, but he could not catch up with the quarterback.
Great open field tackle by Crawford. because Watts is a very versatile runner when he gets past that line of scrimmage, but Crawford just went down in a football position, got those legs split, and just wasn't going to be fooled. No matter how many moves you make, watch that belt buckle and make the tackle, and that's what he did.
Ken Clark is kicking to Tolaumu and Crawford. It's taken by Tolaumu on the run. He gets one block, then to the outside, and finally a stop at midfield by Junior Robinson and Raymond Harrison. Well, at halftime, we'll hear from Al Bruno. We'll also have highlights, a look at all the preparations for Grey Cup activity, and we'll talk with Nick Hebler, who has returned to the BC Lion lineup, and they are certainly happy to have this outstanding defensive end back in uniform. Complete over the middle to Ron Robinson. He fights his way to the 30. And Leo, you made the comment on that drive for the last touchdown that second down play from the 7 could be a big play in the ball game, and indeed it appears that way.
Well, you got that bootleg pattern again where Cowan comes back away from the flow and Robinson gets into the hole in the open area. Watch the catch and everybody goes over. McBride flies over one top, and it's a good thing Garl's coming from the back or he's gone. More play action from BC than we've seen, and I think that's because of Cowan.
Tolaumu still on his feet. He just does not give up.
Boy, he's a running Jesse, and we were talking again to Coach Matthews before the game about him, and he said that he's got such good hands that they gave some consideration to playing him as a slot back. And when you've got a kid that can catch the ball well enough to play as a slot back that can run with his intensity, he's just going to keep getting better and better.
9:17 is the time remaining in the half. It's an 11-8 ball game. The Ottawa Rough Riders out in front, but the BC Lions are threatening to score. They may do it with this pass to Armour. Touch it. No, could not hang on.
That was a great pattern that Armour ran. You'll see Armour try to use his body and jump up in front of Charles Johnson, and it looks like he's going to make the catch, and then all of a sudden Larry comes in from the backside, and the ball, he just can't hold on to it. Bounces out of his hands. He makes sure he doesn't catch it.
He wasn't jostled, though. He got a clear shot at catching the football. It just bounced off his chest. He was cleaned up on afterwards, but he had plenty of time to catch the ball. Cowan now has got some confidence. The only thing now he's got to be afraid of, apart from having confidence, is that he doesn't get impatient and try to win it all of a sudden, because he's hot now and he's playing well. He should just take his time. He's got a good football team around him.
2nd and 10 from the 19. It's complete to Pankratz down at the 6-yard line.
Boy, I love that Pankratz. I think that guy has made more big plays, and he's always there when they need him. Cowan is showing a little... Go ahead, Ron.
Pankratz will just come in from his slot back into the open area. Watch how there's nobody in the area. There's nobody in the area for him to knock the ball down. Watch how much room there is. The linebackers are up. Just pitch and catch. Quarterback, receiver.
Back to the live action, intended for Armour in the end zone, incomplete. Armour complaining that he was interfered with by Ricky Barton. It appeared as though they may have got their feet tangled up as Armour attempted to break that pattern into the end zone.
I think that Armour had him beat, and Barton either tripped him on purpose or got his foot in there and caused him to break his stride.
Yeah, when you have you beat, he'll do something. Grab him, trip him, whatever, but don't let him get it.
2nd and goal from the 7-yard line. Fernandez with his 2nd touchdown of the game, his 12th of the season. And the BC Lions are in front for the first time this afternoon. And Mervyn Fernandez cut in front of Billy McBride for that touchdown.
Well, you can't throw it any better than that. It's just a quick slant from the outside.
Watch Ron Robinson try to clear it, and Kenny Miller's going to jam him up, but when he does, he opens that seam for Fernandez, and he is wide open going in there. Watch Robinson get tangled up. But now Fernandez is one-on-one, thrown right where you can't stop.
Well, you can't throw that ball any better than that.
Well, you sure can.
The point after by Lou Pasaglia, and the BC Lions now lead 15-11 with 7:53 remaining in the first half. We'll return with the BC Lion kickoff right after this. Mervin Fernandez with his second touchdown of the afternoon, and he made it look easy.
Well, watch Fernandez. He just pushes the defensive back off and then takes the leverage on the inside. There's no way McBride can catch him on the inside, and the ball is thrown perfectly. Almost got a little bit of help in there in the middle from Johnson, but not in time.
Dwight Edwards on this kickoff return, starting out from the 5-yard line. He has the great speed. Forced out of bounds, or he would have gone all the way. A saving push by Lou Pasaglia at the 53-yard line. 1 foot went out of bounds at the 53, but Dwight Edwards had that hole open up.
I don't know what happened to the coverage team that time. Because look at the gaping hole. There's nobody to block in there. There's just nobody in there. Somebody let down, and he shook off a tackle there and watched him step out of bounds. Right there, twice he did.
Bruce Walker has replaced Edwards at a wide receiver position. J.C. Watts had that one knocked down by middle linebacker Tyrone Cruz. And the Ottawa Rough Riders aren't doing the same things, Ron, that they did in the first quarter with a great deal of success.
No, he's trying to throw that ball about 15 yards downfield, and those BC Lions will get a tremendous pass rush out of the front four. And you saw Tyrone Cruz back there 12 yards to knock that down. They've got to throw underneath them.
The big difference, Ron, is that the play-action fakes in the first quarter were holding those linebackers and fooling the defensive backs a little bit, but that straight drop-back pass, that's too good a BC defense to try to fool.
Won't fool them very often.
Dropping back again, he's in trouble. Mac Moore wraps him up at the 40-yard line. 15-11, the BC Lions lead Ottawa with 6:59 remaining in this first half, and while the Ottawa Rough Riders controlled the first quarter, BC has taken over.
Watch this man right here. He comes right through the middle. There's got to be 2 guys on him in the setup, and he still comes through clean. Watch him. 1, 2, the center misses him. Finally, he gets away from the guard. And JC doesn't have a chance when he comes at you like that. He's awful big and awful strong.
Third down kick by Ken Clark. He hangs it high. Now Bird going the wrong way, and he loses yardage. Back at the 13-yard line. That was a 44-yard kick by Ken Clark, and Mel Bird lost about 10 on that return.
He was trying to get to that wide side to those white jerseys, setting up that wall for him over there. He was very fortunate when they finally tackled him. He may have run all the way back to the goal line trying to get there.
One guy I think they missed a little bit on those special teams, especially those kick return teams, Darrell Clash. He did a tremendous job throughout the year of returning those kicks. He's been replaced in there by Gooch at the cornerback position. Johnny Lyon says that Gooch did about as good a job covering that rear as anybody has done all year. So.
John Henry White off tackle for a pickup of a couple of yards. Well, Tim Cowan started slowly, but has played a very strong second quarter and is a candidate for our Carling O'Keefe Sports Offensive Game Star.
Along with his battery mate, Mr. Fernandez.
Yes, indeed. And the way J.C. Watt started the game, it looked as though he was going to win the award hands down in that first quarter. Second and 7. Another first down with Ned Armour out of bounds at the 36-yard line. The fans protesting, but Armour had possession of that football when he crossed the boundary. But no, they're calling no catch. I thought he had the ball.
That was an overrule on the call.
All right, we said this is a planned play. Watch him. He's going to come right back and stop, and then he'll go outside to try to get some help. Gets his blocking out there. Now he sprints outside, throws it high to Armour. Let's see if he's
Look at the time he's got and the protection he's got too, Ron. Well, he may not have had possession of the ball when he took out.
Well, the official on the sideline ruled that he made the catch, but he was overruled by the head man.
He landed with his feet in bounds, but he neglected to control the football. The boy, he does buy time when he sprints out of there. I think we'll see more of that one.
He had a lot of time on that one. Great protection by that offensive line. That's
We've been informed that J.C. Watts injured his wrist, so that could mean Dave Marler will come into the ball game. Newman on this third down punt return. He too is going the wrong way like Mel Bird, and he loses yards. After a 56-yard kick, he lost on that attempted return as he was wrestled down by Ryan Potter. And Dave Marler is going to come in and play quarterback for Ottawa.
Mississippi State.
It's been almost 2 years since he's seen any action in the Canadian Football League.
I think a lot of people forget, Don, that he took the Hamilton Tiger Cats to the Grey Cup.
1980, he was the man who directed the fortunes of the Ticats in that Grey Cup loss to the Edmonton Eskimos. Marler looking for Keith Baker. Baker was being double covered, and Marler, quite wisely, I think, threw it well over his head.
There was something wrong there. Baker never ran a pattern. Baker was downfield like he was going to block, and Marler's looking for him as the primary receiver, and he never did do anything. It looked like he must have been an audible, and he missed it.
Six deep backs into the game again for the British Columbia Lions on this passing down.
Unless you fool them with a play-action fake or throw quickly in there, they're pretty difficult to fool.
Oh, there was the safety blitz with Nelson Martin coming from the backside, along with Kevin Konar.
That was a great job by Konar stepping in on the inside and coming with the blitz.
Boy, that was a great defensive play here. We mentioned Nelson Martin come this way, but watch Konar do this and come clean underneath. Nobody ever does touch Konar. He starts outside and cuts back inside, and he is wide open and puts a hit on him. And as Leo mentioned, you better throw quick. Don't get in those second down long situations against the BC Lions because that defense is tough.
Well, in talking to a number of Vancouver media, they seem to think that Kevin Konar might be their team's nominee for the Shenley Award as the outstanding Canadian performer.
He's had an outstanding season for him, getting the opportunity to play. And I'll tell you what, though, that entire defense has played well for them. Konar's just one of many. James Parker's been outstanding this season.
If you see Kelvin Powell as he's limping off the field there, they cannot afford to lose anybody in that offensive line. They've got two people at guard now that are brand new in there, and they just don't have much to back up.
Third down kick by Ken Clark. It bounces to Tolaumu, and Tolaumu finds some blocking. And he gets it back to the 53 of the Ottawa Rough Riders, brought down by Raymond Harrison with 4:03 remaining in the half. It's 15-11, BC in front.
Well, what Leo said is true. Their backup man, Kevin Galladay, has got a bad back, and he may have to play. They'd be in a lot of trouble, but this ball bounces funny, and Tolaumu picks it up and gets right in behind those white jerseys in a hurry.
Well, he's got good instinct with that football under his arm.
Ken Clark kicked the ball 39 yards. Tolaumu returned it 21. Swing pass to
This
Tolaumu.
could go a distance. This could go a distance. Ooh.
Quite a collision over there as Junior Robinson came across to try and bring down Tolaumu with some help from Kurt Garl.
That's a good fake on the inside there, holding the linebackers in and then hitting the swing back on the outside.
They bring the two outside receivers to block here. They lead Ron Robinson, and then they bring 65, Gerald Roper. And as you say, Leo, the play action, and then there's jump it off. And boy, is he out there clean. Boy, does he get rolling out there. Look at that. You see the receivers block. Now you see Gerald Roper leading them, and he's outside with the ball in his hands, and that's about all you can ask. And as you said, Leo, he's got good instincts when he's got his hands on that ball.
Tolaumu took quite a shot from Junior Robinson, who came up to make the stop, and he is still down. .325 is the time remaining in the first half as David Tolaumu, a product of the University of Hawaii, signed as a free agent. And he's done a good job for the British Columbia Lions since being inserted in the lineup earlier in the season.
You see him here as he takes the ball with the ball in the right hand, and he ducks his head and tries to meet the would-be tackler, but when he hit his head, I think he hit it on some protection on that defensive man. Got his lights blinked a little bit there, but he'll be back in there.
Well, there's the young lady who will represent the Ottawa Rough Riders in the Miss Grey Cup pageant, Judy Scott, who has been named Miss Ottawa Rough Rider. Ryan Potter has replaced David Tolaumu. Pass deep intended for Fernandez. Oh, he almost came down with it, but Billy McBride was able to pull it away from him. 3:06 is the time remaining here in the first half at Lansdowne Park in Ottawa. And a reminder at halftime, Al Bruno, the coach of the Hamilton Tiger Cats, has the most interesting comments to make as he talks to Brian Williams. We invite you to stay tuned. The second down pass attempt goes incomplete.
Excuse me, Don. The one thing that I've noticed about Cowan that may be undoing as far as he's concerned is that he had that stretch of bad luck at the beginning of the ball game, lost his confidence a little bit, then got down on the goal line, threw that long pass, made a completion out of it, and built his confidence. Then the BC team started rolling, but he doesn't, at this point, have the patience that a quarterback should have and stop throwing those long passes. He's got to go in there and throw a little bit more short passes and use his running attack a little bit, but he's going out there and just throwing for the fences. He's got to come off that.
The Lou Pasaglia field goal is good, and the BC Lions now lead by an 18-11 margin with 2:51 remaining in this first half.
You get that feeling, Ron, about Cowan, the way he looks like he thinks now that he can throw the ball with and get completions, but he's going for the touchdown every time instead of just kind of settling down and letting the offense exert itself.
Yeah, only a great play by Merlin Fernandez. That first pass should have been intercepted by most corners. In fact, Billy McBride would get it. Only Fernandez, with his great jumping ability, enabled it to be incomplete. Then he come right back next pattern and tried to throw it deep. And Ottawa was in a blitz, as you said, Leo, and he had a chance to throw it into the middle, wide open, and didn't call it. Threw it deep again. So he's got to come back and take what they give him when it's wide open. Go deep once in a while, but you've got to make first downs.
Patience. You've got to have that patience.
Lou Pasaglia, with his 6 points so far in this game, has moved into second place in the CFL scoring race behind Trevor Kennard of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
That picture we saw over there, I think, was the Carleton University group over there. Talked to one of their students this morning. In fact, I had a cup of coffee with him, Billy Bamber.
Pasaglia kicking off. The ball bounces to Dwight Edwards at the 10-yard line. Edwards had a great return the last time he touched the ball. This time, John Henry White stops him at the 32-yard line. And J.C. Watts is returning at quarterback. He was out for the last series. He suffered a wrist injury. Dave Marler took over, but J.C. is back. But I would suggest that if the Ottawa Rough Riders are going to move the football, they will have to go back to that play action that they used successfully in the first quarter.
Give that offensive line a break.
Play action and throw quick, because that BC Lion defense will get you.
Kevin Powell is back in there.
You might think a little bit about handing off a couple of those running backs, too.
Throwing deep, Dwight Edwards in the clear. Melvin Bird brings him down and prevents a touchdown at the 20-yard line. And J.C. Watts is down again. He was hit by Kevin Conard just as he threw. But a 57-yard gain on the pass to Dwight Edwards.
Well, he used up all his time. Watch him. He's going to get enough time to throw the football. It's a little bootleg as he threw earlier. He gets some pressure inside right away by Klassen. Now you're going to see Conard put the hit on him pretty good, but look how open Dwight Edwards is. Only Mel Bird with a great speed was able to get to him, and he used the angle to do it.
Yeah, he used an angle where Edwards couldn't cut back. If Edwards would have had a chance to go either direction, he would have beat him. We'll see J.C. go back, and as we talked about all along, he's got to use a play-action fake. He used that fake and then the bootleg off the fake. Got away from Klassen in there, and then threw the ball and watched Conard come in and hit him. That's Smarts. Boy, he has had an inordinate amount of injuries.
He is lying so still, and they are looking at what appears to be the neck of the Ottawa quarterback, J.C. Watts. He has not made any move at all since he went down. Trainer Dave Smith is out there with him, along with the club doctor. This is not a good sign.
While we're waiting here, this program is copyrighted and strictly for the private use of our audience. Any reproduction, retransmission, or exhibition in whole or in part without the express written consent of the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation is strictly prohibited. We're going to get another look at it.
See if we can see just what happened. He's got the feet planted when he throws the football, and Konar's coming. Let's see if his head pops.
As he went down, he may have hit his head against the knee of one of his own players, but they have not made any attempt to move J.C. Watts. You'll see the hit by Kevin Konar.
You're right. The hit wasn't that bad. His head didn't pop there. It popped when he hit his lineman on the way to the ground. You see the hit. Now he starts down right there.
Oh, yeah, that's where it was. The head was bent left to right.
And they have made no attempt at all to move J.C., and now they are bringing out the stretcher.
Well, it is kind of reassuring just for anybody that might be looking in. It is kind of reassuring that he has moved his hands and his arms to some extent, which is a good sign.
Of course, the medical staff is always concerned whenever there is a head or a neck injury. They take every precaution possible. And the BC trainer is also coming out to lend his assistance.
This is a tremendous blow to the Ottawa football team, because we've already spoken about Marler not having had any playing time for the last year and a half. And it's, you know, the timing factor is just such a big thing. It's going to be very difficult for him to go in there, and he may get lucky and play pretty well right now or as the game progresses off and on, but his consistency factor has got to be hurt by his lack of play. You can tell that George Brancato and his coaching staff on the sidelines are feeling the effects of this. And it has a demoralizing effect on the players, too. They know that JC is a leader, and they hate to look out there in the field and see those people gathering around him out there and having to handle him with care, taking him off that field. That has a demoralizing effect on the football team.
Well, they now have placed JC on the stretcher, but he has still not been moved from the face-down position he was in after he was hit initially by Konar, and then as he went down, hit the leg of teammate Kevin Dalladay.
Several of his teammates coming out to help out and moving him, because it's very important that they don't jostle him at this point. They got to keep him as quiet as possible when the less movement as possible when he goes off the field.
Well, from the spectators at Ottawa's Lansdowne Park, an appreciative round of applause for J.C. Watts as he is carried off the playing field, and we'll try and get a report on the extent of his injury just as soon as one is available from the Ottawa dressing room. A reminder tonight that the press conference with the astronauts aboard the space shuttle that came down a little earlier today will take place at 7:30 Eastern Daylight Time. And, of course, the Canadian astronaut, the first Canadian astronaut to go up into space, Mark Garneau, will be among those being interviewed. Dave Marler now in there, throwing the pass for Baker. He fumbles the ball. Baker made the catch, fumbled the football at the 3-yard line.
Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. What a tough break that was. What a great break for the BC Lions. But Marler came off of that play-action fake. Looked like a pro with a lot of poise. Come back and get set, and Baker come in on the curl deep down in the 2 or 3 yard line. He just put it right on the money. And the contact from the defender knocked it loose.
Nelson Martin came up with that football.
Baker ran that about as well as he can run it. He ran the turn in, and the ball was in the air before he made the break. Very well executed, and then to have that happen to you, that's tough. But the BC Lions have their own ball back. Now they can do what they want with it maybe the rest of the half.
That's too bad doing it as far as Baker's concerned, too, because the knock on him and Hamilton was that he was dropping some balls that he should catch because he wasn't concentrating.
John Henry White fights his way out to the 8-yard line. A pickup of 5. It will be 2nd and 5. He's brought down by Kurt Garl with 2:23 remaining in the half. It's 18-11, BC in front.
Well, they put the brakes on them here. They're still going to have some time left before the half. Still 2 minutes left.
But they had the great opportunity to put it in the end zone with Baker making that catch down at the 3-yard line. For Mervyn Fernandez, incomplete. He was being covered by Millie McBride.
Cowan is still trying to throw the home run ball. I just can't help but believe that with the receivers that he has, that he could work them a little shorter and sustain possession of that football, or retain possession of that football a little bit more. We've seen Fernandez come down with a lot of these passes when it's a one-on-one situation, but McBride had perfect coverage on him, got his hand inside his 2 arms and just spread them apart.
Fernandez has scored both BC touchdowns on passes from Tim Cowan. Lou Fasaglia has contributed 6 points to the cause and will now be punting from the end zone.
Ottawa's got the return out. They're not putting any pressure on him. What a great kick by Fasaglia, Don.
Dave Newman at the 45, and he gets it back to midfield. A 56-yard kick by Lou Fasaglia. And a run back of 9 by David Newman, and Don Taylor is there to make the tackle. So it's 1st and 10 from midfield for the Ottawa Rough Riders, and from the looks of the injury to J.C. Watts, it will be Dave Marler the rest of the way. We understand that J.C. Watts suffered a whiplash from that contact and has been experiencing some numbness from the neck down. Glenn Jackson was there to hit Tim McCray almost the moment he got the football.
Tackle on the play, Jackson.
Well, Leo, you've been wanting them to hand the ball off. This time they hand it off. But watch right here. When they pull the block, they just pass him up. And when you pass up a big man like that, watch him make the tackle. 51 just goes right by him. Van der Bos misses him, and he did not miss Skip Walker.
Jackson likes that kind of a situation, too.
2nd and 13.
Likes the contact.
Marler throwing for Newman. It's picked off, but there's a penalty flag on the play. I think interference is going to be assessed against the BC Lions. Larry Crawford's return will go for naught.
They're going to call Ed Jones for the interference, but Crawford does make a great play.
Well, we'll see Newman go down. Picked up. Could be face guarding right here, but as he turns around, he jostles him and runs into him and just knocks him off his feet. But, you know, the defensive coverage wasn't that bad once the ball was in the air, Ron.
That was almost a pick play in reverse.
Yeah, it was. I'll knock him down, you cut in front and get it.
1st and 10 on the penalty. The Ottawa Rough Riders at the BC 29 with 1:17 remaining in the half. They go inside with McCray. There's a penalty flag on the play. McCray has a gain of 13 yards. Let's wait for the penalty call.
Well, Dwight Edwards definitely jumped the count as a wide receiver. And you know what causes this? A new quarterback, a new cadence, a new system. But a wide receiver should never be offside.
You know, the wide receivers have got to know, too, that they do have a new quarterback in there with different cadence, and they've got to be a little bit more conscious of that and hold their ground a little bit better.
Offside. Ottawa number 3. 1st down repeated.
You can't get in that area and make those kind of mistakes when you got to get on the scoreboard.
They almost had the ball swatted at the wrong position. They had it at the 36-yard line instead of the 34-yard line. That was going to be a 7-yard penalty, but one of the other officials noticed it and moved the ball back to the 34, so it is now 1st and 15. 1:11 is the time remaining. 18-11, BC leads. Marler's sideline pass for Newman. He steps out of bounds at the 28.
For a guy that's been out of there as long as Marler has, he looks like he's got a lot of poise. He's throwing the ball with a good throwing action. There's some thought in the past that they're using that jam defense as Crawford jams him and keeps him on the outside there, pushes him on the outside, but he just turns on the sidelines and the ball is right there. But there's some talk that Marler wouldn't be able to throw the ball anymore because of that thumb injury that he had, but he certainly has recovered and thrown the ball pretty well.
Throws it to Keith Baker. This time he hangs on, and he'll have the first down, or at least be close enough so that the Ottawa Rough Riders will gamble.
Well, what you can see, what you're going to see again, they use that blitz with Nelson Martin coming wide and Konar inside, but this time you'll see Nelson Martin just go by, because if he hits him now, it's going to be too late because the ball's gone, and it's one-on-one coverage, and Keith Baker does hold on. And that's what happens with a blitz. You either get him or he gets you.
1st and 10 from the 16. Marler throwing quickly to Mike Hudson down to the 10-yard line.
Marler is doing the kind of thing right here that Collins should be doing on offense for the BC Lions. He's throwing the ball short. He's sustaining his attack and just using the offense.
You get a safety blitz, and that means Martin has to come from there to cover him, and he just can't make it. You see the safety blitz? Using their head out there. Number 73 really used it. Hudson just gets away from there.
Hit just as he threw by Mac Moore. Nick Hebler was also pressuring the quarterback. So it will be 3rd and 4, and George Brancato will be sending in the field goal unit.
When we talk about the Carling O'Keefe game stars defensively, we've got to keep this guy in mind right here, because Big Mac Moore comes in for the 2nd time in a very, very critical situation and gets the quarterback for a loss to keep them from sustaining a drive or keep them from scoring. Right now, they're going to have to kick a field goal. And that's 2 big plays by Mac Moore.
With 25 seconds remaining in the half, the field goal attempt will come from the 17. Penalty flags. Now, was it procedure or offside? Offside against BC. What a costly penalty.
I'd like to take a look at that, because before the ball game, one of the players for the BC Lions came over to Coach Matthews and said, "I've been watching the center snapping the ball, and just before he snaps the ball, he lifts the ball off the ground. Can we go if he lifts the ball off the ground?" The coach says, "As soon as he moves that ball, you go." Now, it could be one of those situations where the ball was lifted off the ground before the snap, the defense reacted, and the referees didn't see it.
Offside, BC. 1st down.
Here it is right here. We'll see if he picks it up. Yep, see that? Now that is definitely on the offense. That's the offense's fault, and it should have been called against the offense.
There was definite movement on the part of the center. However, it is an offside against BC. The pass into the end zone. He's got it. Incomplete. It was intended for Dwight Edwards. Gooch for a moment thought he had the interception. Edwards knocked it away from him.
Well, I'll tell you what they're trying to do. They're trying to hit Pat Stokel coming across the middle. He tried to break inside, and he was just grabbed by the defensive back. He couldn't get free.
Now becomes a matter of time. As we see, Gooch is on him just about as tight as you can be on him. Takes the ball out of his hands, but then at the last moment between the both of them, the ball is knocked loose.
But you were absolutely right, Leo, on that 3rd down snap by Bob Stephen, the snap on the field goal attempt. He had moved that ball off the ground, drawing him offside. Incomplete. Intended for Dwight Edwards again.
Clyde Edwards had that ball in his hands, should have caught the ball. It would have been a difficult catch, but should have caught it.
The ball floated, and it floated because James Parker got to Dave Marler just as he was throwing, and the ball went not drilled in there the way it has to be thrown, but as you say, Dwight had the hands on it, should have caught it, missed time to jump.
Perhaps there is some justice after all, because the BC Lions should not have been assessed that penalty.
See how the ball's traveling? He just missed time to jump. Or else he didn't get high enough, but he got his hands on it.
Should have had it.
So it will be a Dean Dorsey field goal attempt, this time from 12 yards out. And he puts it through. So with 11 seconds remaining, it's now 18-14.
And you notice there, Leo, the center did not do the same thing that time that he did the time before. He just lined up and snapped the ball. You've got to always do the same thing. If you're going to move your head and everything like you did earlier, you got to do it all the time. He didn't. That's just deliberate.
Yeah, that's right. That's why he probably knew that the officials would be looking this time, and he played it smart and just played it straight. But boy, I'll tell you, those are the kind of things that make old men out of coaches when they look at those films on Monday and say, oh, look at that. That guy is moving his head, and we get called for it, and it's going to cost us 3 points.
Hand off to John Henry White, and he has a gain of 7 with 8 seconds remaining. Time for one more play before the teams go to the dressing room. And again, we invite you to stay tuned for our halftime show. An interesting interview with Al Bruno, the head coach of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And with Don Taylor carrying the ball, this is the final play of the first half. So the BC Lions, after 30 minutes of play, lead 18-14. And now stay tuned for our halftime show. Down Park in Ottawa, where the Ottawa Rough Riders trail by 4. It's 18-14. The BC Lions in front. The Ottawa Rough Riders at 1 point had an 11-0 first quarter lead, but the BC Lions fought back in the second quarter, and now the Ottawa Rough Riders will be going the rest of the game as well without their starting quarterback, J.C. Watts.
Yeah, that's a tough break, you know, especially in the fact that Dave Marler hasn't played in 2 years and just been in Ottawa for a couple of weeks, and it's great for him to get the opportunity to play, but not in a game as big as this. You need your gunner in there.
I think that the Hebler said something substantial, too, during that halftime. He said, we've got to get to Marler. So you know that they went in there and talked about that, and it's going to be a question of how Marler can take that rush after the long layoff.
Well, Admiral Larry was able to return the ball out to the 27-yard line after it was mishandled by 2 or 3 people on the kickoff. Statistically, this is the way the first half went. Ottawa had a big edge during the opening quarter, but the BC Lions came back in the second quarter, and while Ottawa has the overall lead in terms of total offense, the BC Lions lead on the board 18-14. McCray picks up a couple of yards. Word from the Ottawa dressing room is that J.C. Watts suffered a severe whiplash but is okay. He will not be returning for the rest of the afternoon, however, but the injury is not as serious as was first feared.
Oh, boy, that's really good news. On the other side of the line, as we referred to before, Cowan is going to have a little more patience and stop throwing for the fences if BC is going to retain their lead.
The screen pass to McCray, and Andre Jones read that perfectly. He came through the 4 blockers who had formed up in front of McCray and made the tackle, dropping the play for a loss.
On that defense came like gangbusters up front, but the secondary, they just kind of waited there, and when they saw that screen pass going out, they converged. It was a great job reaction by the secondary.
Boy, it almost looked like that thing was set perfectly. They had 3 of the black jerseys underneath ready to go, and bang, as you said, that secondary was there right now.
Mal Bird and Larry Crawford are back for the third down punt by Ken Clark. Crawford takes it at the 40-yard line.
Ooh, look out.
He got a couple of blocks, and back into Ottawa territory he goes to the 54. That was a 39-yard kick by Ken Clark. and a return of 16 by Larry Crawford.
You see Crawford here, and he is a great punt returner and kickoff return man. He's got an instinct, as we said before, like Tuolumau has, of going to the open spots. And he'll get upfield about as well as anybody will, and if you give him a little bit of daylight, he's liable to go the distance.
Back to the live action, 1st and 10 for BC. John Henry White to the 50-yard line, a gain of 4. Stopped there by Rick Sovieta. Don Taylor in at that other running back position. David Tuolumau on the bench. Tuolumau was shaken up in the second quarter.
I've been wondering why Cowan hasn't used the bootleg and maybe the run a little bit more from his quarterback position, but when you stop to think of it, with DeWald out of there and him the heir apparent in there, he may have been told that he's got to take it easy and make sure that he doesn't make himself vulnerable.
Well, the backup to Tim Cowan is Mike Williams. The pass complete to John Panfratz. He steps out of bounds at the 45-yard line. He's a yard shy of a first down, forced out by inside safety Ken Miller.
That was a good job under duress that time by Cowan, getting that ball off, and he threw it right on the money. Not going to take any chances. Pasaglia is going there.
3rd down at the 45, and a chance here for the BC Lions to really put the Ottawa Rough Riders deep in their own zone.
And Ottawa better be careful, because BC has been known to have Pasaglia throw the football, and this is a pretty good field position to try it, but I think they want to get them down deep. Their defense has been doing a good job.
Well, it looks like a little confusion, right, Ron?
And they're going to get a time count violation.
That's okay. Really, when something like that happens, a center like Al Wilson that's got a lot of experience, if he senses any kind of a problem there, he's a lot better off to hold the ball and take the 5 yards, because it doesn't really mean that much to a punt.
Time count violation. BC number 5. 3rd down repeated. And up.
So Pasaglia now stands back at his own 45-yard line to launch this 3rd down kick.
Boy, he kicked him out of trouble before from down there toward their end zone. And the sign of a kicker that can get the job done is the guy that under dress can get you out of trouble. And this guy can do it time after time.
Oh, great kick.
He angles it for the sidelines.
Oh.
And where did it go out of bounds? They're going to mark it at the 6.
No, it's in the end zone. The referee's signal in the end zone.
Well, I'd say I'd like to have a look at that.
Yes, indeed. All the excitement of another National Hockey League season comes your way on Hockey Night in Canada beginning tonight. And there is that kick by Lou Pasaglia. It went right over the flag, landing just out of bounds in the end zone. The official on the sideline, who takes his instructions from the referee, had started up towards the 6-yard line to mark the spot as to where it went up, but the official ruled that it was in the end zone. And indeed, the replay showed that it was. So it is a single point for the BC Lions. They lead 19-14. Dave Marler was hit as he was attempting to set up to throw. I believe it was Mac Moore who made the contact. There was also a penalty flag holding against Ottawa.
Holding. Ottawa 56. Defined. 2nd down.
The holding call against center Bob Stephen. The penalty is declined. It will be 2nd and 11 as Marler was dropped at the 34-yard line for a loss of 1. 6 defensive backs in there again as Glenn Jackson goes to the bench for the BC Lions. They lead by 5, 19-14. Incomplete, intended for Keith Baker. He was underthrown.
Well, the BC Lions are getting great play out of the defense, especially when they use these blitzes. If we get a chance, we'll show you this one. Here it comes again. Once again, Nelson Martin comes wide. Konar comes right through the hole, and watch him put a hit on Marler just as he releases the football. Number 4 to the outside, 31 inside. He just runs right over him.
They've used that same blitz formation a couple of times, just alternating sides, once on the right, once on the left.
Yeah, they can't handle it. Right now, they haven't stopped that blitz yet.
Larry Crawford nowhere to go as he was hit immediately by Raymond Harrison. And Crawford is hurt. It will be 1st and 10 for the BC Lions at their own 40-yard line, but Larry Crawford was hurt on that punt return.
You can't see the center lift up the ball.
So it will be 1st and 10 for the BC Lions, but Larry Crawford is still down, and they are working on his left ankle. He got twisted under 3 Ottawa players as he attempted to run back that 3rd down punt. And this would be quite a blow for the BC Lions if he is out for any length of time, but they've got him on his feet.
Crawford takes the punt. He comes up off of one knee. Just before he has a chance to make a move, he's tackled, and you watch the foot get right there, get bent underneath him. See that ankle? But the center for the Ottawa Rough Riders again picked up the ball before he made his snap on that punt. And the moment he picks up that ball off the ground, he's free game. The officials have got to be made aware of that.
11:04 is the time remaining in the 3rd quarter. Cowan comes back to Mervyn Fernandez. There's nowhere for him to go as he is wrapped up by Billy McBride and Ken Miller.
It was a great effort by Cowan. They tried to run that little swing pass out to the back, and they had it covered, and he just turned around and threw it in his direction. So instead of taking about an 8-yard loss or maybe more, Fernandez ends up making the reception, and it takes 2 of them to stop, and they pick up 3.
Cowan had the presence of mind, too, to throw the ball behind Fernandez away from those defensive backs. Because when you throw it on the flat, it's pretty dangerous out there. But if you throw it away from the defensive backs and toward the backfield position, the receiver can come back to it.
2nd and 7. Cowan to Don Taylor, and Taylor picks up a couple of blocks and the 1st down. There's also a penalty flag in the play.
Cowan looked impressive on that.
Well, it looked like he was going to run coming up through there, and when he ran, that stopped all the black jerseys, and Taylor got open.
You'll see Cowan step back, looks downfield. He's getting pretty good protection there, and then he decides, look at it, it's wide open up the middle. But as he starts up the middle, like a lot of good quarterbacks do, he looks downfield. Taylor breaks open there because the backs, when they saw him start up the middle, as Ron referred to, left their defensive coverage to converge. Got the ball to Taylor.
Look out, BC 21, after yards gained. First down.
Pancratz was called for holding after the game.
Billy McBride was attempting to make the tackle, and Pancratz tackled him. But that was after the game. The 1st down had been picked up by Don Taylor, so the BC Lions are 1st and 10. They are at the 51 of the Ottawa Rough Riders. John Henry White picks up a yard before being stopped by Greg Marshall. There you see J.C. Watts at that Ottawa bench. And while J.C. will not play the rest of the afternoon, it's a good sign that he has come from the dressing room and is watching the balance of the game at the sidelines. Deep for Ned Harder. He's got it at the 5-yard line.
I say, well, you talk about the mad bomber. This Cowan is a mad bomber, boy. He gets back there and lets it go. And again, he's going for the fences, but he just threw a perfect strike in there, as you'll see to Ned Armour. A lot of poise, good vision of the field as he goes back, and then just steps forward and has all the good techniques of a thrower. Gets the ball right down in the seam. Ned Armour looks over the shoulder, gets it for a big, big gain.
Well, it's right perfect, right between Billy McBride coming one way and the safety man coming the other. Robinson, they just can't get there.
1st and goal. It's incomplete, intended for Fernandez, and it will be 2nd and goal from the 5. I spoke with Tim Cowan before the game, and he said he felt very comfortable in his preparations for this game. On the bus coming from Montreal on Thursday night, because their plane could not land here in Ottawa due to the fog, he had a long conversation with Adam Rita discussing the game plan, and he felt very comfortable as he came into this one.
How'd you explain that? I hope no one thought that they came from Vancouver on the bus.
Cowan loses the football, and it's recovered by the Ottawa Rough Riders. Al Washington comes up with the ball. It appears to go flying out of the hands of the quarterback as he went to cock his arm to throw. So Ottawa will have the ball when we return. 21,280 in attendance this afternoon at Lansdowne Park in Ottawa. Tradition Day for the Rough Riders. We'll tell you about that in a moment, but let's watch this ball squirt away from Tim Cowan.
He had a late idea to throw, and when he got the arm back, somebody knocked the ball out of his hand. And then you'll see Taylor here. It looked like Taylor recovered the football. I don't know how it got away from him, but it did get away from him, and it looks like Washington's the guy that came up with it.
Skip Walker isn't going anywhere. He's wrapped up by 3 players, including Glenn Jackson, and it was Al Washington, number 17, who came up with that loose ball when it looked as though the BC Lions were going in to score. I talked about Tradition Day. 4 players who have contributed to the Ottawa Rough Riders, presented with Rough Rider rings engraved with their years as members of the team, and they include Kay Vaughn with the Rough Riders for 12 seasons. From the University of Western Ontario, Whit Tucker, an outstanding wide receiver from 62 to 70, and a powerful runner, Dave Thielen, along with the current trainer of the Ottawa Rough Riders, Dave Smith. Dave Newman makes the catch, but he is going to be stopped short of the first down.
Newman went downfield to come across the middle and get open, and he got in trouble, but he did scramble and get open, but he didn't get enough for the first down. Watch him. He's going to start down the field, try to find an open area. All right, he thinks he's open, but watch. You'll see somebody, I can't get the number, 28. Right on. Now he just moves away from him, makes the catch, but he just doesn't get back.
Good third down kick. There's also a penalty flag on the play. Now Bird fights his way back to the 38-yard line, a 53-yard kick by Ken Clark. There was a penalty flag holding against the Ottawa Rough Riders.
I think they'll take it back and make him kick it over again. What is this?
Well, the initial indication was that it was holding against Ottawa. Did he not point in the direction of the Ottawa Rough Riders?
Sure did.
Oh, I don't understand this at all.
Oh. Now that penalty flag was back at the line of scrimmage.
Holding. BC 31. First down.
The holding call against Kevin Konar. So that moves the BC Lions back to their own 15-yard line. With 6:49 remaining in the third quarter, it is 19-14 in favor of the Lions. Cowan drills it over the middle to Ron Robinson. That's a first down at the 28.
Cowan got a pretty good jolt on that himself. But that's the second or third time this afternoon that he's got him out of trouble. Well, that's a nice-looking ring, isn't it?
Those are the rings that the 3 players and trainer Dave Smith are receiving as they were honored today. Tradition Day 84 here at Lansdowne Park. Kay Vaughn, Dave Thielen, and Whit Tucker, the 3 players, and the trainer Dave Smith receiving those beautiful rings. Taylor still in there in place of David Toluumu, and he's upset at the 37-yard line by Ricky Barden.
That was a good job of running for a play that started out looking like it was going absolutely nowhere. He picks up pretty good yardage. Watch the mob right in the middle. There's all kind of people in there. He just kept fishing around till he found something, got a good block from Robinson, and away he goes.
Well, we talked about Tradition Day in Ottawa, Leo. Tonight's a big night for the Toronto Argonauts. Tonight and tomorrow when they take the field against the Calgary Stampeders.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to Toronto this evening and go down and join the former Argonauts and present Argonauts and hopefully some future Argonauts.
On second down, the BC Lions are stopped short. David Talumu, the ball carrier, Greg Marshall, the defensive end, and a former Shenley Award winner, came in to make the tackle and force the BC Lions into a kicking situation.
Well, Billy McBride came from his outside corner position into the backfield and forced the ball carrier inside, and there was Marshall waiting on him. That's what you're supposed to do.
The sesquicentennial celebration of the Toronto Argonauts, and all former Argos are invited to take part in the big get-together. You're not going to speak tonight at the dinner, are you, Leo?
Not unless spoken to. So it's pretty apparent that I won't be speaking.
Admiral Larry on this punt return. And he's brought down at the 20-yard line by Ron Robinson. 4:52 of the time remaining in the third quarter. It's BC 19, Ottawa 14. Well, Don Matthews had his BC Lions at home for Grey Cup 83. He'd like to journey to Edmonton for Grey Cup 84, but there's a lot of football to be played between now and Grey Cup game on November the 18th. But it should be a most entertaining and exciting week in Edmonton for Grey Cup 84. We're looking forward to it. If you can't make it to Edmonton, we hope you'll be joining us on CBC television for all the excitement. Myler was hit by Glenn Jackson just as he threw, and that ball took off at a right angle instead of heading downfield.
That could have been dangerous. Getting back to the Grey Cup, you talk about all your big games that are handled in sports throughout North America. I don't think there's any game that has more of an effect on an entire nation than the Grey Cup does in Canada.
Well, you see, number 19 there missed the block. And boy, does he put a hit on him.
Well, he put that ball up in the air out there where if somebody would have been waiting for it, could have been 6 very easily.
I think Glenn Jackson's eyes lit up a little when he saw that there was nobody between he and the quarterback.
Always do.
Dwight Edwards did not make the catch. Edwards jumped when he should have been catching.
Didn't have to jump.
No reason for jumping on that. With speed like Dwight Edwards has, he comes across that middle. He doesn't even have to break stride. Catch that ball, and he's shot into the end zone from 60 yards out. Watch him as he comes across the middle here. Now the ball is in a position where he can reach up and get it without jumping. When he jumps up, he just loses his touch on the football. It's right out of his hands. He gets a little bit of help from the defender, but not that much. He should have had it.
Well, that's one of the knocks on Dwight Edwards, is that he does not always catch passes that should be caught. And that one was one of those that should have been caught. This is Mel Bird on the return. He is downed at the 53-yard line by Demir Dupin. That was a 50-yard kick by Ken Clark. That last punt, by the way, Lou Pasaglia traveled 60 yards.
The BC Lions are starting now in good field position, and it behooves them at this stage of the ball game with 3.5 left in the third quarter to get down there and get something on the board.
4 games next weekend: Ottawa at Hamilton, BC at Calgary on Saturday, then Toronto at Montreal on Sunday, and the game you'll see on CBC television, Edmonton at Winnipeg. Fernandez is in the clear. He's brought down by Ricky Barton, but a big first down for the BC Lions.
They've been running a pattern with Robinson in the flat and Fernandez on a slant. This time he comes in and he breaks it back, and watch how wide open he is as he turns that cornerback just inside out. He pumps it in there, and he turns to the outside. Look at the separation. Oh, quarterback's dream.
A 34-yard gain on the pass from Cowan to Mervyn Fernandez. Cowan is 16 of 26 this afternoon for 310 yards. Fernandez again, he makes the catch. He hangs on to the ball at the 15-yard line. That would be a pickup of 8.
That's great concentration on the football by Fernandez. Now watch Fernandez go down and push the defender off. Then there's a good recovery by the defenseman when the ball is in the air, coming back to the football. Gets his hand on the ball, but second effort in watching the ball. The ball was hit his hands, it was jostled loose, but he kept his eye on the ball and recovered it. He does that with a great frequency.
Fernandez has made 6 catches for 104 yards. Well, they ruled that his forward progress had carried to the 18-yard line, and it is a first down for the BC Lions. He was driven back by the defender, Billy McBride, but apparently his progress had carried down to the 18, and that's where they spotted the football.
Every time they've gotten down here now, Cowan has looked for Fernandez. He ought to be looking for Pankratz, because Pankratz can get open down here, and the other inside receiver, Robinson.
Into the end zone for Armour. Good defensive play. Johnson came across to deflect that ball at the very last instant.
Those inside guys on their breakouts look like they're going to be open down there because they're taking those corners deep with those outside receivers. I don't know if he's going to get any help sent in from the sidelines or not, but he's definitely looking outside too much down there. I guess if you get Fernandez and Armour on the outside there, you like to get the ball to them.
2nd and 10 with 1:59 remaining in the third quarter. It's 19-14. The BC Lions leading. Oh, this is picked off in the end zone by Ricky Barden.
Yeah, they're going to have their work cut out for them now.
For the first time, line Mervyn Fernandez into the slot right here. There he is. Ryan Robinson comes into the seam. He wants to hit him here, but Ricky Barton, who does what a safety man should, he just drops into that hole and takes it away. I was kind of surprised to see Merv Fernandez lined up in the slot. I've never seen him in that far before. It's a good return, and then they're going to get us some penalty yards tacked onto it. So they're in good shape.
Well, I was kind of surprised to see Otto in that zone defense back there at that time, too, and I think Cowan was, too. And he wasn't looking for the center field to be back there by himself. He saw Robinson go down that slot, and for all intent and purposes, he looked wide open. But as you said, Barden just waited back there in center field and then went to the football.
The pitch to Skip Walker. And right at the line of scrimmage, he is hit by Gooch. With 1:24 remaining in the third quarter, 19-14. BC in front. 3 times now the BC Lions have been in position to score, and they have come away empty.
You can't do that. You got to come up with the points when you can get them. No one could have told me before the ball game that you could get McCray and Skip Walker in that backfield and be as unproductive as they've been with their offensive running game. Well, that's a great job by the BC Lions of containing that running game.
Second down, Stoker able to hang on, and he was in the clear.
Well, I'll tell you, the Ottawa fans are going to get tired of some of these receivers dropping the ball. Stoker was wide open, just like Edwards was down the middle. And George Brancato has got to be aging on the sideline, seeing those balls dropped, because they were having their chances.
Well, he got jostled a little bit at the line of scrimmage, but got in behind those linebackers. And again, you got to catch that one. Marler put it right in there. He's got a nice touch on the ball for not having played in such a long time.
Sure has.
Well, that's the second time that Marler has delivered a pass that should have been caught. One by Dwight Edwards and that one by Pat Stilta. Larry Crawford, who was shaken up earlier, doing a job on returning this one, getting it back to the 35-yard line. A 45-yard kick by Ken Clark. A run back of 20 by Larry Crawford with 20 seconds remaining in the third quarter. And remember, again this evening at 7:30, a special interview with the astronauts aboard the space shuttle, a CBC News special at 7:30 Eastern Daylight Time. And, of course, Marc Garneau, the Canadian astronaut, will be part of that Space Shuttle News Conference, a CBC special at 7:30 Eastern Daylight Time tonight. Hand off to John Henry White, and John Henry White finds a hole for a gain of 9, maybe 10 yards.
Tackle.
And that is also the end of the third quarter. So with 15 minutes remaining, the BC Lions are clinging to a 5-point lead. Well, the BC Lions are hanging on to that 5-point lead. They have the football to start the fourth quarter, 2nd and 1. The ball just shy of the 45-yard line. Tim Cowan has done a good job of directing this BC attack this afternoon. The ball is fumbled. And who has got it? In that pileup, the officials trying to figure out who's got the ball. I don't envy them the task of trying to get in there among those behemoths and trying to determine who's got the ball, but it is the Ottawa Rough Riders. And J.C. Watt, injured in the second quarter, is on the field to applaud that fumble recovery. It popped away from David Toluumu.
Well, I like to have somebody explain to me why all season long on a short yardage situation they put Cowan in the ball game, the quarterback sneak to get the first down, and then when he's in the ball game, he turns around and hands off to somebody else. It would have been so easy for him to... He's a specialist at running quarterback sneaks. He's done it all year. But a big offensive line ahead of him against the suspects, some people on defense over there.
Skip Walker takes the handoff, and he gets just a yard, maybe a yard and a half. The success of the Ottawa running game last year with Skip Walker was getting him to the outside behind the blocking of guard Rudy Phillips. Well, Rudy Phillips is out of the lineup. He's injured. And the Ottawa Rough Riders have been running inside today with Skip Walker.
A guy that's been very prevalent and very, I know that the Ottawa team has been very aware of him all day, is Big Mac Moore. He's almost under every pile-up out there, making the tackle.
2nd and 9. Marler with the time, throwing deep. Dwight Edwards unable to catch up with the ball.
I don't know what Dwight did there. He stopped and looked back. If he would have just kept going, the ball was thrown perfectly.
He put a good move on the corner and got open on that post flag move of his, down, fake to the inside, didn't go out, but he stopped for some reason.
He had the defender beat, just completely beat by about 10 yards, and Marley looked down there and saw it and just led him right where he should lead him.
So this brings Dean Dorsey into the ball game to attempt a field goal, 51 yards. He hit one from 46 yards out earlier. Is it long enough? It's good. So with 13:11 remaining in the game, it's now 19-17. The BC Lions in front. Dean Dorsey preparing to kick off following that 51-yard field goal. 13:11 the time remaining in the game. The Ottawa Rough Riders, who had an 11-0 first quarter lead, now trailing by 2 points. And for Dean Dorsey, that is a career best, that 51-yarder.
Well, that was a good job of kicking it right in that hole over there.
But they better get some coverage on Larry Crawford. They finally bring him down at the 38-yard line, but he got away from a number of people back at about the 25.
Sure did make some great moves. But I saw Dorsey line up there, and there was a spot right on that left sidelines there where it would have made it difficult for the inside man to get to the ball and the deep guy to get there, and he laid it right in there. But Crawford, as you say, he fielded it well, and he made about 3 or 4 good moves and improved the field position out to about the 37-yard line.
Well, it's taken most of the day, but as per the forecast, the sun is finally breaking through the haze here in Ottawa. This pass is interfered. 3 players had contact with the ball. It looked as though it was going to be deflected and then picked up.
Don, I've been saying all afternoon that Cowan just has got to have more patience. For every one of those long passes that you get down there and get to the receiver and he makes the catch on, something like this happens. And you want to see a bizarre chain of events. The ball is hit right here. It's jostled out of his hand into a would-be defender's hand there, into another would-be defender's hand there. They all 3 dropped it.
Johnson, Robinson, and Barton all had a shot at the interception. It's 2nd and 10. Incomplete, intended for Fernandez on the other side of the field. And the BC Lions will be forced into a punting situation again. Almost from the outset, Leo, you have stated that Tim Cowan has to show a little more patience, and I think you're absolutely correct.
Well, he's a good enough passer, and he's got an excellent football team around him. He doesn't have to just try to score a touchdown on every play. Early in the season, the BC Lions were very fortunate to be able to make some big plays, and some of those guys got some bad habits of scoring too easily.
Third down kick will be fielded by Bruce Walker at the 25-yard line, and he goes down at that spot. Dennis Jamin was downfield to make the stop with 12:03 remaining in the game. Well, the boys in green on the far side of the field are students at Carleton University. And there are a few of them here who are providing some support for the BC Lions. The majority of the 21,280, though, cheering for the Ottawa Rough Riders. They'd like to see Dave Marler start something right now. It's picked off by Glenn Jackson. He pitches the ball out. Larry Crawford took that pitch from Jackson, and the BC Lions take over at the 23-yard line.
That was a heads-up play by Jackson, Ron.
Boy, was it ever. I mean, that play's got to hit quick. They're just going to try to hit the slot back real quick, but Jackson just steps back right underneath it. He looks like he's going to blitz, looks like he's ready for the run, but watch what happens when the ball is thrown. Right underneath it.
Watch
That's
here,
all
though.
you can do.
Watch here, though. He says, I'm not a back here. Larry, take it. And Larry said, why did you give it to me when I had some running room?
He says, it's you or me, fella.
That's right. I'll tell you, we got to give Jackson some consideration for that Carling O'Keefe game star for the defensive player. He's made several big plays out here this afternoon.
Indeed he has. There it is, Fernandez into the end zone, his third touchdown of the day.
Boy, that was a nice bit of adjustment there by the quarterback on that play.
Well, that's that same old pattern. Send Robinson out in the flat, and Fernandez just takes 2 steps upfield and slants in the middle. Wide open coming across there, and Cowan finds him. Watch him.
Watch Cowan putting the ball up to throw it.
He's covered
Bring it
right
back
there.
down, and then at the last minute, see it, boom, he pops it right in there, and he just hits him right on the dead run. Boy, that looks good in print.
Well, when you're down there and have the opportunity, you got to get it in the end zone, and they took advantage of Jackson's interception. Didn't take him long to score either.
Fernandez now has 13 touchdowns for the season, and Casaglia with the point after. And with 11:21 remaining in the game, it's 26-17. The BC Lions in front.
Watch old Mervin there, as you see, Ron, push him off and go to the inside. He just runs away from the cornerback. The cornerback had position to follow him to the inside, but he just ran right away from him. The ball was thrown perfectly.
Well, there's a man who certainly gets some votes for our Carling O'Keefe Offensive Game Star Award. 3 touchdowns isn't a bad afternoon's work for Mervin Fernandez.
7 catches. That's not bad. 3 of them for touchdowns. That means about 1 out of every 2 he's going to score.
And at the conclusion of the game, we'll be saluting this afternoon's Carling O'Keefe Game Stars offensively and defensively. 11:21, the time remaining, and that quick touchdown has silenced this crowd here at Lansdowne Park. When the Ottawa Rough Riders moved within 2, I think some had thoughts of an Ottawa comeback. Now they've got their work cut out as they trail by 9. Dwight Edwards finally picks it up at the 15-yard line, and he isn't going anywhere as Keith Gooch makes the tackle at the 20.
The last 2 kicks, one a punt and one a kickoff. I know from playing in Lansdowne Park in the 4th quarter, the sun becomes a problem. And that time he didn't look like he could see it because he didn't catch it on the fly. And then the punt that the Ottawa club returned a little while ago, the punt returner didn't catch it.
Well, for most of the day, it didn't look as though the sun would be a problem at all, as there was heavy fog in the Ottawa area this morning. As a matter of fact, there has been for the past couple of days, and as we mentioned earlier, that's one of the reasons the BC Lions' scheduled flight from Vancouver was unable to land here and had to detour to Montreal, and then the Lions bust over. But what a beautiful day yesterday. McCrae is stopped after a gain of about 1 by Mac Moore.
Well, as you get close to the playoffs, defense is so important. The BC Lions now are using their running game a little bit more with Tualumo and people like that in there that they have to do, but the big advantage to them when the weather gets cold is that great up-front defense that they have. They're shutting off a pretty good running attack this afternoon, although Ottawa is handicapped by 2 new people at offensive guard.
Penalty flag as Marler floats it out there for Pat Stokewood to the 50-yard line, but I think it will be wiped out by holding.
Flag on the play.
Donnie Lyons was telling us before the ball game about that jamming up front, how important it is to jam. Now, Jackson was supposed to jam Stoker that time. He stepped up to hit him, and Stoker went past him, and he went past clean, and they just didn't recover back there, and there was a big separation between him and the defender downfield. They're only playing 2 deep. They just got that ball right in there to him. Because if you're going to jam, you better get that job done and get it jammed on the line of scrimmage, because there's going to be a lot of separation unless you do get it done.
Second and 20. The Rough Riders from their own 11-yard line. It's picked off. Gooch steps out of bounds at the 36-yard line. So the BC Lions, leading by 9, have a great opportunity to add to their lead, and they'll try to do that when we return. Well, the way the Ottawa Rough Riders started this afternoon's ball game and jumped into that early lead, it looked as though they might take control of the game early, but the BC Lions came back, and now they are in control following this interception by Gooch.
Keith Baker, the receiver, fell down. Gooch does make the interception. He had excellent coverage on him anyway. It would have been a very tough completion, but when Baker fell down, it made the job a lot easier.
Nick Hebler's presence in that defensive line means a lot. He was putting pressure on the quarterback just before he threw the ball.
Van Armour, close to a first down, stopped at the 26-yard line by Charles Johnson.
Now, this is the place where Cowan could come in there with his play pass fake and maybe get a cheap one here, because you can always go for it on 3rd down.
Well, Fernandez has all the touchdowns this afternoon, but Armour has certainly made a contribution. The big catch he made when it was 11-1, and they were in a 2nd down situation back in their own 7-yard line, and Tim Cowan uncorked a 50-yard throw to Armour, and as you said at the time, Leo, that was the play that perhaps could get the BC Lions started, and indeed it did.
Turn the corner. Right here, they've got a half-a-yard run. You know that with Cowan at quarterback, they can make it on 3rd down. They've got to play pass it here.
Okay. I don't know whether they will or not. You know, I really don't. They're liable to just say, let's keep the drive going and try, take no chances. Let's run it. But it is a great spot to do it. There's no doubt about that.
He was dropping back and throwing it. What would he do that for?
Looking for Fernandez. It was picked off, but Junior Robinson was out of bounds.
Well, now you tell me why anybody would drop straight back, no deception whatsoever, on a 3rd and 1/2 a yard and try for a touchdown pass. I don't understand that.
Tries to get in that jump ball situation with McBride, but it's good coverage by Billy McBride, and the ball goes out of bounds when it's intercepted by Robinson. So Fernandez is limping again.
Let's see if Cowan, now quarterback, sneaks it. He's been doing it all year. Yeah, he's going to do it. He's got the first down.
Well, that's what he did all year in short yardage situations. He would come in with Roy DeWalt going to the bench and quarterback sneak it. By the way, we should point out it was sort of a good news, bad news week for Roy DeWalt. The bad news, of course, that he suffered a broken collarbone, but on Wednesday his wife gave birth to their 2nd child, and we offer congratulations to the DeWalts on that great moment in their lives. Roy, I understand, had to drive his wife to the hospital. One arm,
I heard. One hand.
But he made it in time. So, Roy, congratulations.
That was a big play.
Movement at the line of scrimmage, penalty flags, and John Henry White picks up about a yard. But let's wait for the officials to sort this one out.
This could be both sides offside. Offside by the defense. That's a break for the BC Lions.
26-17, the BC Lions lead Ottawa with 8:28 remaining in the game.
Offside. Ottawa 63. First down.
Ray Harrison was offside. So that moves the ball to the 20. It will be 1st and 5 now. Ned Armour makes the catch. He was in the vicinity of the 15-yard line where he caught the ball before being driven back by Charles Johnson.
I tell you pointed out something before about the big play that he made in getting them out of that trouble down there by the goal line. He has caught a lot of passes today that are difficult passes to catch.
Maybe the fella in Regina who was selling the Ryder hide bags when the Saskatchewan Roughriders were having all their problems moved over here to Ottawa.
Well, they certainly don't need him in Saskatchewan.
Don't need them in Saskatchewan. And I understand that they are expecting their biggest crowd of the year for the game against Hamilton. Over 28,000 are expected to show up at Taylor Field.
Be a noisy place tomorrow.
On first down, John Henry White has about 2 yards, and now we've got some shoving going on with Nick Hebler and Kurt Garl. Hebler into the ball game in that short yardage situation.
Who Baby Buns is.
Objection to conduct. Ottawa 42. First down.
Pretty good block by Hebler, number 99 in there.
It's a heck of a job blocking. Oh, there's what he got.
Pushing the face there by Garl.
That was a great block.
That's how angels are born.
His 4th touchdown of the day, and again he was wide open.
Well, he's been coming on that slant, started down inside and planted that foot and went right back to the flag, and boy, was he open. Look at the separation. The defensive backs are nowhere near.
I don't know what they're doing out there, really. It's difficult to believe that at one stage of this ball game that Ottawa was leading, what, 11-0, was it?
So Mervyn Fernandez with his 4th touchdown of the game, his 14th of the season. And the BC Lions have taken total control as they have turned 2 interceptions into touchdowns. And with 7:24 remaining, they now lead 33-17.
There it was. You saw him start to that inside on that slant. And he's got 2 touchdowns on that slant. This time he just fakes the slant and goes back outside, and no contest.
You know how satisfying it is for a guy like Fernandez, as smooth as he is, to make his break to the outside and there's nobody near him. He's going to say, if you don't break your arm, quarterback, I got 6.
Well, Fernandez now has 14 touchdowns as a receiver. Brian Kelly leads in pass receptions for touchdowns with 15, and both have an opportunity to break the CFL record of 17.
Yeah, it's not hard for Fernandez when he gets on a roll. I mean, he's beating them inside, beating them outside. It makes the job of that defensive back almost impossible. He doesn't know where to line up.
Admiral Larry runs it back to the 33-yard line. And that's where the Ottawa Roughriders will scrimmage with 7:18 remaining in the game. I would think that Mervyn Fernandez would like to have the Ottawa Rough Riders on the schedule about a half a dozen times during the course of each season. He's now scored 6 touchdowns against the Ottawa Rough Riders in 2 games. First time they met back on August the 11th in a 34-21 BC victory. He had the 2 majors. It is picked off by Keith Gooch, his second interception of the afternoon.
And Gooch can go.
Gooch is out of bounds at the 33-yard line. Well, Mervyn Fernandez may get an opportunity for a 5th touchdown this afternoon because he's been the favorite target of quarterback Tim Cowan.
Well, Keith Baker went down, and he ran a curl pattern and tried to get Gooch to bite on it, and then he swung outside of him, but he sure didn't. The ball was underthrown. It looks like he's got behind him, but no.
Gooch goes to that
recovered.
ball real well, Ron.
He sure did.
He came down with the football, and he knows what to do. He picked up his blockers very well right here, cut back and went down the sidelines. Good blocking there from the BC team rallying. He takes the ball down to about the 33-yard line. And if he keeps that up, playing that well, Gooch will get a smooch from his girlfriend.
Donnie Taylor is bounced out of bounds at the 30-yard line. The pickup of 3, it will be 2nd and 7.
I asked Coach Matthews before the game. He's got 2 young Canadian, not young, but 2 Canadian running backs in there, Donnie Taylor and Ryan Potter. I asked him, was it difficult to have an accommodation of 2 backup Canadian running backs? And he said that, boy, they both do their job, and they're both excellent on special teams, as we see George Brancato and 1,000 thoughts going through his head on the sideline. 999 of that.
Mike Williams is in at quarterback. And he'll get the first down as he runs the ball to the 22.
That was a good idea by Donnie Matthews, number 1, of getting Cowan out of there because he needs him so badly. Number 2, though, giving Matthews a little work because getting into the playoffs, this is the alternate quarterback that he has to go with. This guy can run a little bit.
Well, it definitely will be Tim Cowan and Mike Williams for the balance of the season, as Roy DeWalt is on the 60-day list. So he won't be back for the playoffs or the Grey Cup game.
That is really a shame. Roy DeWalt, class guy and a great football player, and you'd just like to see him get a chance to be in there for the playoffs.
Ned Armour, the intended receiver, is intercepted by Charles Johnson in the end zone. And Armour makes the tackle, piggybacking Johnson down out at the 14-yard line. Make that the 18-yard line. Well, I suggested that perhaps Mervyn Fernandez might get a chance for another touchdown pass, but this one was aimed in the direction of Ned Armour.
He's got excellent cover. Johnson's got him covered. There's no doubt about it. He just goes up and takes it away. He had perfect position, then he runs it out.
The ball was intercepted, and that's not a good sign, but he's got pretty good throwing action.
Yeah, he's got a good throwing arm. Watching him down there before the game, talking to Coach Matthews about him, I know he's going to be really happy to get Williams into the ball game.
4:45 is the time left to play. Tim McRae fights his way out to the 28-yard line. 33-17 is the score in favor of the BC Lions over the Ottawa Rough Riders. If you weren't with us right from the start of this afternoon's telecast, Ottawa, with J.C. Watts directing the attack, jumped into a quick 11-0 lead.
He got the screen set very well. He cuts back behind it. But, you know, he hasn't had much work today, not like he's been used to in the last 4 or 5 games.
Second down, Dave Marler keeps. He'll get the first down out to the 30-yard line. A difficult assignment for Dave Marler. We referred to the fact earlier that he has been inactive for almost 2 years. And then he comes into the ball game against the top defensive unit in the entire league.
Well, that's a challenge for anybody, let alone a guy that's been out of ball. But he hasn't played that poorly, really. It's going to help his confidence, even though it doesn't look like Ottawa's day. The BC Lions are awful tough defensively.
Well, he had a couple of passes dropped earlier that definitely hurt. This is the third one that is picked off against him. There's also a penalty flag on the play. Ed Jones comes up with the interception, but there is a penalty flag, and it is an interference call against BC.
Yeah, Baker went outside. Gooch just shoved him right out of bounds. Right in front of the official, too. I don't know if we'll see him go flying out of bounds, but you can see him over behind the photographers.
That's a good spot to make a catch. Won't count for anything, but
It looked good.
at least you got protection. Swinging it out to Tim McCray, and McCray is stopped right at the line of scrimmage. 3:04 is the time remaining here at Lansdowne Park in Ottawa as the BC Lions are in control. They lead by 16. Well, that's the time remaining here at Lansdowne Park with the BC Lions in front, and tomorrow our CBC Sports crew will move to CNE Stadium in Toronto as the Argos entertain the Calgary Stampeders, and we invite you to join us for that one on the full CBC television network. Marler dumping it off to Tim McCray, and McCray, in looking for a first down, is stopped about 3 yards short.
And I'm not sure about that word that you used, entertain. I don't know about the Argos going to entertain them or not, because I don't know that Calgary will be too entertained, because the Argos look awful good at this time, and Calgary are having their problems.
Well, the Calgary Stampeders coming off a rather humiliating loss on Thanksgiving Monday at Winnipeg Stadium against a red-hot Tom Clements and his Winnipeg Blue Bomber teammates. The first 5 times they had possession, they scored, you may recall.
When Tommy's hot, he's hot.
All sorts of movement at the line of scrimmage, and quarterback Dave Marler dives straight ahead. Was it a legal procedure against Ottawa or offside? BC protesting that they were drawn offside, but Rick Klassen's argument fall on deaf ears.
We're going to take a look and see whether there's any movement. I see that center move again there. He moved his head and his right leg.
He still had the football. He ran with the ball.
He ran a quarterback sneak. But it's
Without the quarterback.
It's really a flagrant move again by the center, though. You can't jostle, move your head, move your leg, and things like that, because the defensive line has every right in the world to move on movement.
Marler is throwing into traffic almost every time.
The way that ball was up in the air and that many jerseys, there would have been a heck of a collision. And that's about all that would have come of it. I couldn't tell whether he's throwing to Stokely or Edwards or maybe Larry Crawford.
Or maybe Andre Jones and Nelson Martin were
They were
also
all
there.
They say, we're going to run back here and stand. You throw it in the middle.
2nd and 10 from the 54. 2:18 is the time remaining. Stokely trying for the catch, and he was hit by Nelson Martin, and Stokely is down.
That ball was in the air about 18 yards coming down, and that safety man is back there for one reason: go to the football when it's in the air, and he got there to Stokely.
And when you're in a very vulnerable position, as you'll see this ball being thrown, as you reach up in the air for the ball right here, look at the vulnerable position that you're in. And when you get that shoulder pad into the solar plexus at that time, boy, the air goes out in a hurry.
You get a good look at it right there. Just as the ball arrives, Martin arrives. That's when you go back and tell the quarterback you owe him one.
Stokely's a tough guy, and he'll go after that ball, and he's not going to back up from anybody, but he just got himself overextended and got that helmet and that shoulder pad right in the solar plexus.
Well, he's a graduate of Carleton University, and we saw some of those green-shirted Carleton students in the stands a little earlier here in the ball game. Pat was also an outstanding basketball player at Carleton. Talking about athletes participating in other sports. Bruce Walker of the Ottawa Rough Riders was an outstanding baseball player. I don't think there's any doubt about which team he is cheering for in the World Series, because at 16 he was once offered a contract in the Detroit Tiger organization.
So he's probably cheering for San Diego.
Well, the lineman, Peter Vandenbos, very wisely threw his arms back, said, I don't want this football, I can't make the catch, but the ball was definitely thrown to him by quarterback Dave Marler.
He should have caught it just to prove the lineman can catch it. They're going to get a penalty anyhow.
Found the only guy open was the offensive lineman. You're in trouble.
Well, George Brancato's troops are in trouble because they still have just that 1-point edge on the Hamilton Tiger Cats in the battle for playoff positions in the Eastern Conference.
Those two teams meet next week.
Well, Ron, we've seen Williams all year long in his street clothes, getting ready to get his opportunity to play when DeWalt and Cowan were both dressing, and here he is finally getting that opportunity.
Don Taylor runs to the 45 of the Ottawa Rough Riders with 2:02 remaining.
Washington on the tackle.
Ottawa Rough Riders will have just 2 games remaining after this contest. And our Carling O'Keefe offensive game star, Mervyn Fernandez, 4 touchdown receptions this afternoon. Quite a performance by Swervin Mervyn. And he may not be finished yet. The league record for touchdowns in one game is 5. Penalty flags on the play, a time count violation. Do either of you gentlemen know who scored those 5 touchdowns in one game on passes? Time's up. Mac Moore did not score 5 touchdowns, but he is our Carling O'Keefe defensive game star.
I'll bet he played for Winnipeg.
Time count violation. BC
You're
number
absolutely
11.
correct. Ernie
Second
Pitts
down.
scored 5 touchdowns in one game. And our Carling O'Keefe offensive and defensive game stars will receive a beautiful solid-state television set courtesy of Citizen. Pass incomplete, intended for Ned Armour, but either he or the quarterback, Mike Williams, were a little confused as to what pattern was being run. With 1:36 remaining, the Lions send in the punting unit.
Well, Williams gets to the coach first, so it's going to be the receiver's fault.
Good strategy on the part of the quarterback. Lou Pasaglia stands at his own 50-yard line. 1:36 remaining in the game. The BC Lions leading 33-17. And this will move them back into a first-place tie in the West with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who are idle this weekend. Here's the reverse with Bird on the McBride. And McBride gets back to the 45-yard line with 1:20 remaining. A 36-yard kick by Lou Pasaglia, and for Billy McBride on the reverse, he returned to 36.
That's pretty. It was set up well, executed well. Looks like he's going to go a long way, but Pasaglia is in position, but he didn't have to make the tackle. John Henry comes and says, you're not supposed to hit anybody.
Pasaglia says, I'm the last line of defense. If you guys don't get him, I will.
The time remaining as Dave Marler moves the Ottawa Rough Riders over the ball at the 45. This is picked off by Kevin Tyrone Cruz. The pass was intended for Mike Hudson. And that definitely will seal the fate of the Ottawa Rough Riders with 1:12 remaining. The executive producer of CFL football and CBC television is Bob Moyer. Today's game was produced by John Spaulding and directed by Ron Harrison. Our isolation director, Mo Waters. And our thanks to statistician Ed Milliken and spotter Art Darch for their always fine job. and the other members of our CFL production and technical crew.
They throw a post pattern to Fernandez. We may see him score his fifth.
Well, there are all sorts of flags as Brian Illerbrun and Al Washington exchange words and do a little shoving before the officials and teammates intercede.
Al Washington looks like he's smarting for a little bit of a confrontation there. He's liable to get it.
Yeah, he messes with Illerbrun, he'll get it. Illerbrun has been known to tangle a few times. But they're in that blitz formation. Fernandez out here by himself, one-on-one with nobody at the post. If he goes to the post and get it off, it's a touchdown. Let's see if Chapdelain's going to go in and take a message in.
Time count violation.
Got the wrong guy
BC
coming out.
number 11. Major foul. Unnecessary roughness. BC 61.
Well, that's why Washington was upset.
Let's watch the two of them. They're lined up across from one another again, and they're talking.
Illerbrun and Washington may go at it again. 61 for BC, 17 for Ottawa. 2nd and 25. The draw play, and it is going nowhere as Don Taylor is wrapped up by linebacker Kurt Garl. 1:08 is the time left to play here at Lansdowne Park.
Taylor, stopped by Carl.
It just looked like that the quarterback just ran out of gas, Steve Marler. He's been inactive now, as you said, for a year and a half, and he started out quickly. His timing looked like it was pretty good. It looked like his arm was strong, and then as the game wore on, he just looked like he ran out of gas and just got tired and started throwing the ball for interceptions and things like that. It's too bad, because I think he'll be all right as he gets the time to play in there.
Lou Pasaglia's 3rd down kick will bounce out of bounds as Admiral Larry does not get an opportunity to return it.
25-yard punt.
I like that name, Admiral Larry.
Admiral Dewey Larry.
Admiral Dewey Larry. Okay.
A rather dejected George Brancato at that Ottawa bench.
Well, he must have been top ranked in his family, wasn't he? He probably got saluted every morning.
Statistically, the BC Lions had a big edge on the Ottawa Rough Riders, 452 to 277. Most of that Ottawa yardage picked up in the first quarter. They had 138 yards in the first quarter.
Well, I remember seeing the halftime stats. They had 240-some right then.
They've lost yardage in this second half. McCray out to the 20-yard line. 39 seconds remaining.
In defense of George Brancato and the coaching staff, you know, you say, how can you have two guys in that backfield like Walker and McCray and not do a lot better running with the football? But they've got two young men in there playing the offensive line, Peter Vanden Boss and Warner Miles, and haven't been with the football team hardly at all. Bob Stephen is new back in there at center. So their offensive line, you saw Kevin Powell limp off the field at one time, so their offensive line has been pretty badly hurt.
Harler throwing deep for Skip Walker, and it's incomplete. It was almost picked off by Larry Crawford. 18 seconds remaining. It is 2nd and 5. Skip Walker returning to that Ottawa lineup after a prolonged absence because of injury. And Don Matthews concerned in preparing for this game this week because of an injury to his number 1 quarterback, Roy DeWalt. But Tim Cowan has certainly responded this afternoon.
Boy, he sure has. You know, they're going to need him, as we've said over and over, that him and Mike Williams are going to carry the load. So it's good for him to get that first one down and get ready to go.
This is a real confidence builder for him.
Dave Newman gets the first down out to the 27-yard line. BC and Winnipeg in a tie for first in the West. They each have 21 points, and they each have 2 games remaining. Winnipeg plays Edmonton, BC plays Calgary, and then they meet in what could be a showdown for the Western Conference pennant on October the 27th in Vancouver.
You know, when you talk about a quarterback going into a ball game, and I'll come back to that just as soon as we get out of here for this commercial crew.
All right, that's the game. 33-17, BC defeats the Ottawa Rough Riders here at Lansdowne Park. Well, both sides were guilty of a lot of turnovers this afternoon, but the Ottawa turnovers certainly proved more costly, as two of them led directly to touchdowns late in the game when the BC Lions were leading by just 2 points. And the BC Lions leave with a 33-17 victory. They also pile up 452 yards in offense under the capable direction of Tim Cowan, drawing his first CFL starting assignment in place of the injured Roy DeWalt. Dave Marler took over for J.C. Watts, who went out of the ball game in the second quarter, and he had some problems, not unexpectedly, because of his lack of play over the past 2 years.
Don, I think the most significant thing this afternoon, as I was going to say, is that Tim Cowan come in here and did a job. Had he come in here and not had any success getting ready for the playoffs, it would have been disastrous for the BC Lions. But coming in here, Ron, having success, I think means a lot to this football team.
Oh, especially to the BC Lions, and especially to him as a quarterback. He knows now he can win in the league. That's the most important thing for the BC Lions, is for Tim Cowan to believe in himself. And that's what they found today.
And it looks as though Ottawa and Hamilton will be in a battle when they meet at Iverwin Stadium for the third and final playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. In the West, it's looking more and more as though that October 27th game at the stadium at BC Place, Winnipeg and the Lions will determine the Western Conference pennant. The final score this afternoon, the BC Lions 33 on a 4-touchdown performance by Mervyn Fernandez, the Ottawa Rough Riders 17. And now, let's join Brian Williams at CFL Control.